Welcome to SIM-PAC Live. I'm your host, Jeff Matthews, and today we talk to Carl Duncan, Chief Executive Officer of NRG-ONE. Welcome, Carl.
Morning, Jeff. Good to be with you again.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Now, look, Carl, I look through your professional background, and you truly are a multi-skilled energy professional. Take us through your journey, your professional journey, and how you ended up as Chief Executive Officer of NRG-ONE.
Yeah, I'm humbled by that. Thanks, Jeff. It's been a journey of learning, I'd say, both practical and in the classroom. I started my career as a humble electrician, working for an electrical engineering company in New Zealand, and also studied electrical engineering whilst I was on the tools. I don't call myself an electrical engineer in Queensland because we have RPEQ and all those sorts of things. Moved to Australia, have worked over here for most of my career now. Restudied or retrained as an energy manager back in 2005, so I went back to uni again. It was quite hard to find a course that was specific to energy management at that time, as you can imagine, but I found one, and a good one. Yeah, and got a job for one of the leading consultancies, which is now called ERM Energetics, and got certified with the Association of Energy Engineers as a certified energy manager. So that's a bit like a chartered accountant, I suppose, for energy, though. That allowed me to be a lot broader than sort of electrical, all the things that you need to be across for energy management, so energy markets, energy economics, discounted cash flow analysis, and thermodynamics, and a bit of process engineering as well. So quite broad. And sort of did, I suppose, what I call as a white collar apprenticeship with our organisation, travelling all over Australia, doing energy advice and audits for mainly listed companies. And there was a lot of reporting back then. There wasn't much doing. There wasn't much activity compared to the market that we're seeing now. And moved up to Queensland. So I was in Sydney then. I moved up to Queensland, was doing a lot of work for the for Energex and Ergon, the networks up here, as well as food and airlines as well. And one of my clients, we just sort of had a chat. I was keen to roll up my sleeves and do some actual project work and get gritty. And landed sort of my dream job at the time in a large food processing company. And I was there for 7 years, which was great. Fantastic company. I was really lucky to be mentored by a couple of fantastic executives, and get exposure to large energy spend, how we go about developing a corporate program, set targets, and start to drive some change and some really good investment as well across thermal efficiency, renewables, and just try and get that organisation set up to hum and drive some profitability as well. So that's sort of been my background, and always had a dream of starting an energy services company, and was lucky enough to find the right people to do that, to join together and do that. Now we have NRG-ONE and we're away.
And I've heard you describe NRG-ONE as a customer-centric energy services business. Just take us through that.
Yeah, it was really important to us when we founded the company, and goes with the whole mantra of the NRG Group and NRG Services that was started by Dan Brisky and Toowoomba. I think some of the learnings from being on the client side of a large energy user, when you're trying to decarbonize a large organisation, if you're working with contractors that are sort of just doing solar, or just doing refrigeration efficiency, or just doing lighting, or just doing power factor, which is quite common in the traditional sense, it's really hard to drive the best return. And it's also sort of a go slow. So you're working with individual contractors rather than being able to package together what we'd call integrated renewables and energy efficiency that are tailored to the customer, tailored to their profile, to get much bigger result and a better return as well, and to be able to deliver that in a much smoother way and actually lower cost as well.
Now, you also operate quite differently certainly from any other energy company I've seen at SIM-PAC Live. Take us through what drives how you operate, and where does that come from?
Yeah. So we operate on a really simple process or a systems approach, which is holistic. So we work in 3 simple steps, and that's discover, design, and build. So what that means is first and foremost, we go back to what I'd call classical energy management practices, have a look under the hood of our customer sites, So whether, they might be spending more on thermal energy like gas and coal and LPG, or more on electricity. And so we use that process to look for the optimal mix of decarbonisation solutions for them. So it's a bit of a different approach to saying, hey, how about solar? How about batteries? It's more about having a look at their individual needs and their energy profile. So we have a good understanding of that, where the dollars are, where the energy spend is going, and then work through a design phase and into construction. So there we're really refining the costs. Our development managers going in, pricing things really accurately, so that our customers can have confidence when they go to their boards or their decision makers around raising capital, and then moving the project through to the construction or the build phase. And in that phase, we're cobbling together the right project team, leveraging all the trade and engineering and energy management professionals that we need right for the project to deliver, which can be quite complex. But ultimately, we're just trying to take the friction out of decarbonisation for our customers and make it as easy as possible, because quite often it is quite complex. So just trying to take that away and make it easy, and let our customers focus on their core business and margin up at the same time.
How big is NRG-ONE?
So NRG-ONE directly, we've quite a small team, so 5 people direct, but we're really lucky working as a group across the NRG group, which is over 220 trade and engineering professionals and construction professionals. So what we do is, as a group, we bring together the right skills and capabilities for the scope or the project of the day. So, for example, we're actually on site and building for quite a detailed construction project at the moment, which includes some embedded generation, some civil works, HV works, high voltage works, low voltage works, new switchboard, which, as you can appreciate, takes a combination of engineering disciplines, project management, Queensland QBCC, builder's license, and various trades to bring that all together. And it's something we just wouldn't be able to do without the muscle of the NRG group behind us to do that. So it's a great combo and allows us to do some pretty complex things and make it easy for our customers.
And what sort of size are your clients and the projects you're doing? Have you got a sweet spot?
Yeah, we do. There's probably 2 sweet spots. So generally, we sort of say targeting customers that have at least an energy spend of 250K a year, but probably more in the over $1 million range, and that could be across electricity and thermal and water as well, particularly hot water. And then definitely ambitious around sustainability or decarbonisation, and the willingness to invest in that. That's a must. That would be our target, but we're also from a direct commercial and industrial type of customer. But also we're seeing a lot of activity and partnering a lot with technology companies. So if you can imagine technology companies, particularly coming out of, say, Europe, with biogas or battery energy storage or those types of technologies, the common theme there is they need a delivery partner like NRG-ONE to execute their projects and do the construction in a compliant manner, do it smoothly without overruns, and bring together the various trades and engineers that you need to execute. So yeah, we're finding both those streams is generating quite a lot of activity in our pipeline.
Just on that, the European tech that's coming into Australia, are you seeing that increasing? Is it steady? Do the European companies look at Australia as a potential place for their technology to end up?
Absolutely. And I wouldn't just limit that to European as well. Obviously, China and places like that. So quite a global spread, US too. Yeah, we're seeing a steady rise, I think, a healthy rise. Certainly, a lot of technology providers from overseas are seeing Australia as a key market. Some of the settings that we've got around net zero targets and particularly ambitious targets that have been set by federal government and state governments as well, they're very much seeing Australia as a key market. We have a lot of land. We have a lot of good things going for us, in an economy that is transitioning to net zero at a steady pace. And so, yeah, it's been favoured. Plus, we're stable, right? Often have solid businesses that are doing well, and a willingness to invest as well, and realising the value that can be created by transitioning and taking control over the energy costs.
At SIM-PAC Live Queensland, you've segmented the economy into three sections that you service. I'm interested in what those three sections are and what are their wants or needs that you're seeing at the moment.
Yeah, so we generally split out commercial, industrial, and utilities. So, and they've all got different needs. You're right. So, in the commercial space, in the built environment, it's quite competitive. Particularly, we've had neighbours ratings in Australia, which is essentially is a star rating based on the carbon footprint of your building. We're seeing that become highly competitive since that benchmark has been in for quite some time now. And it's a competition to fill your building with good tenants, really. Attract government tenants, large corporates, all the high quality tenants that have expectations around sustainability. And so what we see there is a real drive for integrated renewables, both, say, solar and storage, but also being on top of efficiency. So lighting, all the mechanical services, HVAC in buildings, super important, particularly in the hot, humid environments that can be more energy intensive for the built environment. And also Green Star. Green Star's driving that from the development, the construction side, the builder side, to lift the sustainability credentials of that building because tenants want it, they're demanding it, they're calling it out. On the industrial side, I'd say more, particularly in the high volume, low margin sectors of food processing in particular, we're seeing a pull. So their customers are demanding that they decarbonise, or not demanding, but asking them to decarbonise because it flows through to their supply chain and scope 3 emissions. But then on the production side for industrials, the leaders are using it as a competitive advantage because they recognise they can control their energy costs if they make the right investments, go about it the right way. And that gives them pricing power in the market, which is a weapon when you're in a high volume, low margin industry. Really important. And then finally on the utility side, just seeing the build out of gentailers and other energy companies developing and owning those utility assets that are also making a huge contribution to the net zero transition in our energy supply. And that's becoming a lot more fragmented or distributed. So, those big chunky power stations that we've traditionally had in regional Australia are getting broken up into millions of little pieces and spread across the network. And they can be complex and they need resources to deliver. And so also that's a key fast moving sector as well.
And at SIM-PAC Live Queensland, you also talked about high energy costs. We all talked about that, and volatility and the ups and downs of the market. But you made a statement that stuck with me. You said it doesn't have to be that way. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
Yeah, that's right. For someone that's been in energy and carbon management for almost 20 years now, it is frustrating because I think a lot of it gets politicized, unfortunately, rightly or wrongly, and that creates uncertainty and often perceptions, which can often be, not accurate. And so what I'd say is we are seeing a cohort of leaders stand up and realize that they can take control back. It's well within their grip. And often has attractive returns. To put a number on that, we publish on our website our rolling average internal rate of return for sustainability projects, ones that we've both delivered and assessed. And that average is 32%. So I love having an argument, well, not an argument, but I love explaining to business leaders that it doesn't cost you a fortune, it's going to make you a return. You just got to go about it the right way. And the right way is by combining what I'd call classical energy management with classical construction and get it done. There's definitely a focus on CapEx, but often when we sit down with our clients and we explain the life cycle cost of not adopting energy efficiency and not adopting integrated renewables, it becomes really, really clear over a longer period, so a 10-year period, how much better off their business will be by adopting those key technologies and by transitioning. It's much better off by investing a little bit more upfront, but the long-term results for their business are quite astounding. So once we explain that with some data and some smarts, usually people get it and it becomes a no-brainer.
Yes, that's what we talk about here at SIM-PAC. We talk about throwing away all the old economic paradigms that were built under readily available fossil fuels 24/7. This brings us to specifically what we wanted to talk about today: the decarbonisation and sustainability solutions for food processing facilities. So I think you've got a couple of case studies for us, and we love case studies here. So I'll let you take us through those.
Yeah, we feature 2 case studies on our website because they cover both ends of our business from both spectrums. So one of them covers the discover phase, which is based on Australian country choice. That's a case study where we did a sustainability master plan for them. An energy manager spent quite a number of months on their site looking at all the, what we'd call a systems approach, which is looking into all the various energy and water systems they have and the interactive effects on that plant. So things like their waste streams, because there's biogas opportunities around those organic waste streams, compressed air, lighting, heating and cooling, refrigeration, steam, heat recovery, all the various things that we see across an industrial site, having a look under the hood, running our analytics process, and then from that, being able to present and summarize all of that work up to one page. And on that page is an executive summary which outlines a group of projects ranked by their carbon abatement, their return on investment, their capital, so that the executive team can have a look at that and start planning with us their capital cycles. And where needed, going into further detailed design for larger projects or going straight into design and construct contracting, which obviously we come in and can price and competitively quote for. So that's on the advisory side. On the construct side or the delivery side, a pretty simple scope with Norco, one of our favourite clients, and we all enjoy having a flat white from Norco Milk, great customer. But we went in there, worked with their engineering team. They actually knew what they wanted to do. They've got a fantastic internal team and some really ambitious sustainability goals that are clearly understood. They knew what they wanted to do, so we went in there and worked up the energy savings behind a thermal efficiency project. So as part of our offer, both the contracting cost to implement that project, we also quantified the savings to make it easy for their team. So then they could just lift that out, run it into their capital application, and then work with their engineering team, and we got the job done. And the result from that was about a 12% reduction in thermal energy, which is a good result, good return for them. And we continue on the journey as they decarbonise.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's really good to see what you're doing in the real world with these companies to try and decarbonise. It's very important. And it's important that we start with the low-hanging fruit too. I mean, do you see things when you go into companies that it can help with decarbonisation, and it's something we can easily and quite cheaply do that pays for itself in quick order?
Yeah, we do. We see that a lot. And we usually set our sights on what we think we can achieve from initial walkthrough. It's kind of that simple. When you have an experienced energy manager go through a facility, we look at the business with a completely different lens. And so, even just this week, yesterday I went through a facility and it was really clear that a lot of their savings and opportunity are going to be around electricity.
Yes.
Whereas today I'm going to a facility that'll be completely different. All their opportunities are around gas and thermal energy and a little bit for electricity. And so what we can do is be smart about that and like you say, cobble together the optimal outcome, which could be solar batteries, a tariff change and a lighting change or lighting upgrade. Whereas others, it'll be more about combustion controls, thermal efficiency, steam distribution, and perhaps a much smaller amount of solar. And I suppose that's our secret sauce, is that we'll uncover the optimal for the customer, no matter what energy systems they have in their facility.
Yes, starting early is also key. One of the things why I like to promote the low-hanging fruit is that it gets people on the pathway to decarbonisation.
For sure. Yeah, it's get something done. So even, it's not like customers have to be investing $5 million on a huge project from day one. It could be $100,000 efficiency project that's really high returning. And absolutely just staging that in over various capital cycles, that might make sense for that business. But you're right, and I agree. It's about taking action. We get hung up on, or sometimes get hung up on writing, glossy sustainability reports, which have to be done for customers and supply chains and things. But more importantly, it's about taking a step forward, focusing on the 1%ers and getting them done and doing it over time.
On that last point, I know you said at SIM-PAC Live Queensland that we shouldn't get too hung up on reporting. And I've got a little bugbear about this. And in recent interviews, we've had a full-on debate with ESG practitioners, because it's my fear that the current reporting regime has actually pushed decarbonisation off the agenda. And we've now got accounting and legal doing the reporting, and there's no sustainability people in the room. Can you give us your thoughts on that? I'm interested in your views.
Yeah, I mean, look, reporting's important because customers want to know. We need to be able to communicate and quantify, more importantly. I think my bugbear comes from statements like we're committed to sustainability without being able to quantify that and doing the work to understand and taking action. It's just not acceptable anymore, but particularly as, our younger generations form into leaders, they're not going to accept, fluffy statements. Basically, they want to see action.
Yes.
More importantly, I'd say the cohort of business leaders that recognise the strategic advantage and take control of their energy needs and decarbonisation, they're generating better profits and better margins by doing so. I think whilst reporting, it's got its day and it's important to do, it shouldn't be the focus. Action should be the focus.
Yes.
Looking at where the investment lies, what the best options are, what the best solutions are, and getting them done, knock them over, celebrate the wins, and report on that.
Yes. I totally agree. Let's report on what we're doing, not just reporting for reporting's sake. So one last thing that you pointed out, which I think also sets NRG-ONE and maybe the NRG services group apart. You said it takes an army of skills.
It does, yeah. And it's been a real learning for me, coming from a consulting background and now essentially being a contractor. It's been a real learning for me from end to end, seeing a project go from understanding its business case and analysing it right through to delivery. And I see the hardworking teams in our group when they're delivering and the pressure that they handle as we're through construction. But it does take an army. For example, the large construction project I mentioned earlier in the interview, and the skills across that, that's obviously got a project manager supported by a contracts admin. There's some specialist subcontractors. There's our own internal mechanical and electrical trades. There's civil RPQ sign-off, Registered Professional Engineer of Queensland sign-off for a slab. There's fencing, there's people with civil works on site, there's people doing high voltage, there's people doing low voltage, there's switchboard design. And when you take a step back at that, to be able to bring it all together, run it to a program, keep it on time, keep it to budget, it takes an army. And the front end of that was guided by energy management, by analysing the project and having a look at what needs to be done, what the optimal mix is. And again, that's a separate set of skills to feed into a lot of those decisions as the project's being formed up. So, there's a breadth of skills. There's absolutely no way that we'd be able to do what we do without the support of the NRG group or the capabilities of the NRG group. It just wouldn't be possible.
Yes. Wonderful. Look, thank you very much, Carl. That's all the questions I had for you today. Now we're going to take questions in the online chat from our audience. Carl and I are both going to be on for the next 15 or 20 minutes until your questions run out. You can simply write your questions in the YouTube chat below, and we'll be here to answer them. Thank you for appearing today, Carl.
Thanks, Jeff. Great conversation.